Step aside, JPEG. There's a new NFT kid on the block, and his name is Music NFT. And whether or not you like it, it looks like he's here to stay for a bit. So of course that means that I need to make a video telling you about this latest cyberspace craze and what it means. And also how dozens of companies are popping up everywhere, desperately trying to get pieces of this latest NFT pie. And while for some artists it's definitely just a quick and easy payday where they sell a few samples and make millions, for other people it could be a game changer and actually help them break away from the dominance that large labels currently have over the music industry. And because I want you to be able to know what's going on and make your own decisions concerning what you think about it, we're gonna go over some things in this video like what is a music NFT, how does a music NFT company work, and what are some of the goods and the bads of the music NFT industry. So strap in because this one is interesting. So at the risk of mansplaining something that you've heard a million times before, an NFT is just a non-fungible token, which is basically just a unique set of data stored on the blockchain. And while anyone can view these pictures and, as you may have heard in memes, right-click and save, what you're really purchasing here is the unique ownership of the original. So just like with a painting, you could snap a picture of it or buy a poster of it, and while the copy you have is effectively identical, it doesn't diminish the value of the original, which would still be worth millions. When thinking about NFTs, we often think about things like Bored Apes or Lazy Lions, and while those are NFTs, pretty much anything digital can be an NFT. This includes pictures, videos, audios, and specifically, that we'll be discussing in this video, music. Now, just like with visual NFTs, anyone can listen to a music NFT that's been minted literally just by going to the website where it is and hitting play. You could probably even find a way to easily save the song and then just listen to it forever without having to pay. But again, what you're paying for here is not exactly the song, but rather the ownership of the original, as opposed to the ability to just listen to it. And while this does seem silly to a lot of people, myself included, honestly, it's important to remember that the value of something is just whatever people are willing to pay for. And if you think about a lot of precious jewels or metals, a lot of them aren't practically useful for most people and just represent something like status, or they looked pretty so someone paid a lot for it. So at the moment it might be unclear as to what the point of any of this is, and we'll talk a bit more about that in the good and the bad section at the end of the video, because this might not actually be as useless as you might think. So now that you know what a music NFT is and why people might be interested in them, we can now talk about music NFT companies and how they work. Now, despite what each company might say in their About Me section, pretty much every NFT platform functions effectively the same. They offer music that you can listen to in the form of an NFT, and these can be bought, sold, traded, or given away, and the songs are stored on the blockchain. Just to be clear, in this video, we're specifically discussing the platforms that sell music as an NFT. There are some platforms like MusicArt, which are music-adjacent NFT platforms selling artwork associated with a musical release. This can be stuff like album covers, band art, and so on, and they function similarly to merch. So just like you might buy t-shirts to support your favorite band, these are NFTs for people who want to support their favorite bands, but maybe with Ethereum instead of buying a t-shirt. But to be clear, this is not a music NFT platform. This is a platform that is supplemental to something like a Spotify release. A music NFT platform would be something like Sound.xyz, which is a platform where artists can sell audio NFTs of their music. So Sound.xyz brags that they've helped artists raise almost $1.8 million by selling music-based NFTs, and states that they hope their platform can be used to help struggling artists with a solid fan base, but who don't make enough money through traditional means like sales and plays. In fact, their frequently asked questions states that 90% of the streams go to the top 1% of artists, and NFTs are a way for their hardcore fans to be able to support the artists more fully. The potential issue with this is while you and your small band might be the favorite artist of a couple of people, there are much larger artists that are trying to get in on this, like Snoop Dogg or Kings of Leon, both of which have released albums exclusively as NFTs, and both of whom I'm sure have made incredible amounts of money off this. And again, I don't want to dive into my personal feelings about this just yet. There's the good and the bad section at the end where I'll talk about why I both like and dislike this, so stick around for that. So the process for actually releasing this music on these platforms is surprisingly complicated, and the platforms you see are just that. They're just platforms. And they rarely end up doing much more than just showing you the NFTs that are available for sale. I'm going to use Sound.xyz to explain how this works, and because it is complicated at the end, I'll break it down into much simpler terms with some analogies so you'll be able to follow along. So Sound.xyz is a website you can go to that offers the service of selling audio NFTs. However, these NFTs are not actually stored on Sound.xyz. Rather, their website has an API that allows them to distribute the links stored on a data file sharing system called IPFS, which stands for interplanetary file system. So that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, and how it works is far too complicated for this video. But basically, it's a way for a bunch of computers to verify the uniqueness of a single piece of data. In this case, that piece of data is an audio NFT. But in order to actually be able to upload your file to the IPFS, you have to use a service like Pinata, where you can upload the file and it stores it on IPFS and gives you a link. But you're not done yet, because all you have is a piece of data stored as a link on a computer network. So now you need to mint it as an NFT so that you can actually sell it on a platform like SoundXYZ. And I'm not completely sure how this process works. And that's mainly because SoundXYZ doesn't tell you, and at the moment they're invite only, so there's not really a way for me to poke around and find out. But I suspect you'd have to do something like connect your wallet with another service like Wallet Connect, and then from there you'd be able to mint it as an NFT. Basically, SoundXYZ is like a marketplace, and the NFTs are products in the marketplace. And IPFS is like an inventory tracker to make sure you aren't selling counterfeit goods. That's oversimplified, but for our purposes, it's close enough. And now that you understand what a music NFT is and how these platforms are just selling audio files distributed as links, we're gonna get into why I don't think this is actually as great as a lot of people seem to think it is. So this section is basically just going to be a mishmash of things that I find good and things I find bad about the music NFT industry as a whole. With NFTs, one of the things that people consistently tout is that independent artists are more easily able to profit off their work. And to an extent, this is true. Just like with regular NFTs, with music NFTs, you can make it so that you get a percentage of all the sales of that asset in the future. So if it becomes valuable and consistently sells over and over for a lot, you're consistently getting paid out for all your hard work. And to be clear, I fully support independent artists being able to make a living doing what they love. And it's not even like this isn't happening. I mean, just look at this graph. These are smaller, independent artists that are earning almost nothing from plays of their music, but they are able to turn what would be a small hobby earning just a few $100s a month into a full-time career earning livable wages. This honestly isn't something that's ever really happened before, and this kind of power for these small independent artists is a really good thing, especially when you think about how much sway over the music industry large record labels like Universal, Sony, and Warner Music have. And I can't think of a better reason as to why this is important than the reason for which Tom MacDonald released a two-part series on his YouTube channel. He basically details his experience with Billboard screwing him out of the top spot on several of their charts because they refused to verify his record sales. And not hitting the top spot is a huge loss for him because it represents a massive amount of exposure and publicity that he just wasn't able to get. And that represents potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales that just didn't happen. And while I'm not a fan of his music, it's an important story to tell because as an independent artist with a team of only 3 people including himself, there really wasn't much he could do about it. All he can do is suck it up and hope that the next time his numbers are verified and he's able to hit the charts. Now imagine someone like him isn't even worried about Billboard charts because they're able to independently make money off of the NFTs that they release as an artist. He basically cuts out the need for the marketing of large charts like Billboard. Now this could be a huge win for independent artists, but as always, where there's money to be made, huge artists or organizations will make a bid for it as well. Like I mentioned previously, Snoop Dogg and Kings of Leon have both released exclusive NFT albums, and unfortunately there's a chance that people like this will just dominate the market. And this is made even worse by the fact that it looks like Spotify might be making a bid to sell NFTs as well. And if this is the case, huge artists that already have a lot of money would make even more money, and small artists who hoped this would help them follow their dreams might just be left in the dust. After all, if you had a choice between buying an NFT from a small artist that basically nobody had heard of and that might lose value later down the road, or from a huge artist that everyone's heard of and that would probably maintain its value and relevancy for longer, who would you pick? A lot of people would go with the big artist, and that just cuts out the small one from making sales. It's just difficult to justify making a gamble on a small artist that might break up in a few years and just not have an NFT that's worth anything. Now, the second main reason I take issue with this is because it's new and exciting, and wherever there's something new and exciting, there's a chance a bubble's gonna form. Now, these new NFT startup platforms will pitch to artists that they could make millions if they release an album as an NFT and promote it to their fans. So once this initial wave of big names minting NFTs dies off, so will the hype, and that'll lead to prices going down. When prices start going down, people will start bailing out of the music NFT space, and that'll leave smaller artists right back where they were. Except now they might be holding a bunch of useless NFTs when all they really wanted to do was just chase their dreams. But on a final note, there is no guarantee that that scenario is actually going to happen. I've offered you the facts and then some of my opinions and concerns, and only really time's going to tell what's going to happen with this new industry. But until then, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll make sure to make a follow-up video on whatever happens next.